Welcome to Rodney Veals Inspired By, a production of Public Media Connect, the regional partnership of CET in Cincinnati and Think TV in Dayton. Rodney Veal, our host for this podcast, is an independent choreographer, interdisciplinary artist, and all-around fan of all things arts and creativity, and he's excited to share another great conversation with you. Thank you for listening, and if you enjoy the show, please subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
We are talking to Jesse Nutt, who is a comedian extraordinaire who is from the local region, but he is from all over, and he has great insights and things to say and things to share, and we're going to talk about his history. So, Jesse, welcome to the podcast.
It's an honor and a privilege. As you know, I'm a big fan of the art show, big fan of you. I love the focus on local artists and art. Even though the segment you did about the person doing sculptures out of dryer sheets, I thought it went a little far, but whatever. Let's celebrate all art forms. So that's why I'm glad I'm here. Let's talk about comedy as an art form, which I know is going to piss other artists off, but my opinion is it's the hardest of the art forms.
I don't disagree.
I think mainly because there is no other art form where the artist is challenged every single time you present the art to adjust your presentation to the audience. Comedy is the only collaborative art form. Other art forms, if you're a visual artist, you might be at a showing and you might hear people talk badly, disparagingly about some of what you've done. Okay.
Right.
Comics get that every 30 seconds. Okay. You either get approval or you get rejection immediately.
And sometimes it's talk back. I mean, they come back at you with language.
They will. Lame. That's old. Boo. My favorite is they'll start jingling their car keys.
Shut up. Okay, seriously?
That means it's time for you to go.
Ooh.
Oh, yes.
Ooh.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Wow.
Look, the Sandman ain't got nothing on the brutality of the types of rejection that a comic will get. And I mean, this isn't just in bars. This is in comedy clubs. So the comic is always challenged. No two shows can be exactly alike. A comic can tell a great joke at the first show's Friday night. Everybody loves it. You're a genius. Best joke they ever heard. The comic can tell the exact same joke the exact same way at the 9 o'clock show, and they look at you like you spit in their mama's mouth.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm literally telling you.
That's real. That is legit real.
That's literally the spectrum of the challenge that a comic must face every show, every time. Now, it is also the comic's beautiful blessing that we are the only art form that if we do our job correctly, if we do what we're supposed to do, we can generate into a human an involuntary response. Whether they want to laugh or not, they will laugh. Every comic knows that feeling when you've done a set or you're doing a set and you'll do a joke and you'll hear somebody go, okay, that was pretty good. That's them grudgingly admitting that up to this point they hated you. Now suddenly you said something that clicked. And they love it, and whether they want to or not, they laugh. So, yeah, involuntary responses. Nobody can make you tap your foot. Nobody can make you appreciate Renoir, Phyllis Wheatley, Paul Laurence Dunbar. Nobody can make you do that.
No, even a film. I mean,
but I can make you laugh.
Yes.
Make you laugh. So, yeah, it's the ultimate artistic challenge.
I always hear my phrase is, comedy's hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about that in the context this morning. I was like, the difference between comedy, like being funny and humorous. Mm-hmm. There's a difference.
Oh, yeah.
Some people are humorous and they're just not funny. And there's some people who are just funny. I mean, there's different degrees of what comedy is and what is funny and humorous. And so my question to you is, how did you realize that you were funny?
Honestly, I'm not sure I am. I mean, my philosophy is you are only as funny as your last show.
Okay.
Luckily, Thursday night, I had a great show. Thank you, Funny Bone. Here's the best way I can explain it. Two of the funniest people I've ever met in my life, I've known my whole life. One of them is a school friend I've known since first grade. The other is the older brother of one of my best friends. They are absolutely hands down two of the funniest people I've ever met. Make me just tears to my eyes every time I talk to them. I have offered, begged, pleaded with both of them to get on stage. Neither one will do it. Period. Not a chance. Scares them to death.
Interesting.
Okay? Now, genuinely funny people. Hilarious. And don't just make me laugh. They make everyone laugh.
Okay.
That's just who they are. But they would never, ever think about getting on stage and doing what I do. I've always heard, and people have always told me this, when they find out I do stand-up, they're like, you don't look like you do stand-up, because I don't smile all the time. I'm not always joking. I knew at an early age that this is what I wanted to do because I had the ability, I had the gift of combining certain words and presenting those words to people, and they would laugh.
Okay.
And I found that fascinating, even from like age 6.
Okay.
Just
okay.
fascinated by this combination of words or that combination of words could make a group of people who have nothing in common be in unison and be in agreement and find something funny. I was absolutely fascinated by that. So that's what I started studying, was this unifying power of laughter. And that was from the time I was a small kid. I knew I wanted to be a stand-up comic when I was 4 years old. This is absolute truth, hand to God. I was 5, I think 5. I'm old enough and dated enough. My family, my older brother, older sister, mom, and dad, we were all watching a variety show called The Ed Sullivan Show. On this show was a stand-up comic. Don't remember who it was. Couldn't tell you what jokes they told. What I do remember is looking around and seeing my brother, Black Panther, Black militant, my sister, the feminist, my parents, steeped in sanctified faith. All 4 of these very different people were all laughing hysterically in unison. And I said, I want to do something that does that brings all these different people together and they can have a moment of unity. I said, this is the greatest thing in the world, the gift of laughter. And once I saw it and once I started studying it and what it could do, the power of it, the curative power of laughter, its ability to diffuse the most tense situation, I was hooked, absolutely hooked. Elementary school, my teachers would tell you, if you did show and tell, I'm getting up and doing 5 minutes of Bob Newhart or Godfrey Cambridge or Dick Gregory.
So I asked this question of a lot of like folks in different art forms. Like they all say the same thing. Like they knew, and they kind of pursued it. I mean, it was like Amy Deal. I'm a visual artist. Boom. I knew I was going to be creative.
Yeah.
And I needed to translate that on canvas or in print. And Countess was like, I have to move. I have dance. I gotta do my, it's like this the thing of like, because people always ask the question, because we bandy around that word, creativity.
Yeah.
It's abused.
Oh, sure.
Okay, you're a computer programmer, you're creative. Okay, I guess. But I think we abuse it in order to get people to do things. I mean,
the word creativity has become a participation trophy.
Yeah.
Rather than an acknowledgement of something unique.
And that took time.
Yeah.
I mean, to my point is like, you're saying 5 years old. This is time. This is not like, oh, I just decided, to get up on a stage and like,
I know that
yesterday, but it's like,
there are tons of people that do that. They just, on a whim, they lost a bet, they, want to impress a girl, whatever, and they get up on stage. I knew this was something I was going to do, and I approached it, I thought, like any artist would. I began to study the masters, those who were already doing it, who had done it, and some of it I discarded, some of it I totally embraced. The timing, the comedic pause, watching someone like Jack Benny or George Burns turn 10 seconds of joke into 30 seconds of laughter simply by pausing. It's almost the same as a musician noticing phrasing or the bending of a note, a dancer noticing just that little extra that changes a movement to something just glorious, where the audience almost gasps because they can't believe what they just saw. That was always my goal, was, okay, how do you get a moment where you create something like Driving Instructor, Bob Newhart, Hippy Dippy Weatherman, George Carlin, The Hair poem, Wino versus Dracula by Richard Pryor, which I still think hands down is one of the most perfect bits ever written. Absolutely perfect.
And that's a key phrase, written.
Written.
I mean, like, let's be very clear. There's something about that people believe that it's just it's improvisational. And there are people who do improvisation.
Oh, sure.
People who do improvisation in art, they do it in dance, they do it in other art forms. It's not all improv.
No, it's not. Now,
it cannot be improv.
That's also part of the magic.
Yeah.
That's part of the magic, though. Intended or unintended, part of the magic is people do assume that when they see you on stage, all of that is extemporaneous. Just off the top of your head, you're making it up as you go. There are comics who, the term is called crowd work.
Okay.
And there are comics who are absolute Zen masters at crowd work. One is a good friend, Vince Morris. Another, Steve Ayotte. Matt Rife is very good at crowd work. There are a lot of comics that are great at crowd work, but never get it confused. All three of the names I gave you have tons of written material that they have sweat over. Okay? So you often will use a combination of crowd work and written material. The magic is when you make it seamless, where the audience doesn't know what part is conversational and what part is written. But yeah, you write jokes. Jokes are no different than songs. Has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Has to. If it doesn't, what you've got is a question or a premise or, something like that, which may or may not work, but it's not a joke. It's just a question. Hey, what's the deal with airplane food? That's not a joke.
That's not a joke. Yeah,
it's not a joke.
Right.
Could be, but it's not yet. So it's all about looking spontaneous, but it's not. I got plenty of jokes that have taken me, 30-second jokes that have taken me years, literally. You'll write it, then you rewrite it, then you try it out. It sucks, so you don't try it again for a year. Then you pull it back out. You write it again. You write it again. You write it again. And every time you have to try it out. Comics literally live the scientific method. We come up with an idea. We then execute that idea. If it works, then we have to replicate it. Just because it works does not mean much. It means it worked at the Chuckle Bucket. That's all.
But down the street at Wiley's, it might be a completely different
thing. So you see if you can replicate. Once you can replicate, now you've got something. But that whole process can take weeks, months, years.
Okay.
Years to get. And again, it can be a 10, 15, 20-second joke. Just getting the words right can take that long.
And the reason why I asked that question, because there seems to be, as an educator, I always deal with kids who want the instantaneousness.
Sure.
And I keep telling them, that's not it.
They want a microwave career.
They want microwave careers. They want the microwave love and affection, like instantaneous. Like, no, that doesn't work that way. This is like, you need to be in the rehearsal studio working it out. That's what made the dancing. I mean, I always tell people all the time, like, well, how did your career was successful? I said, because I love the process.
Yeah.
And so you have to love the process. And so when you're talking, like, because we're talking, and I know people are going to be listening to this and they're going to be like, I had never considered that the fact that it's so much work.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you tell people? Like when they come up to you and say, well, I want to be a comedian like you, what's your advice to them?
It's funny. After the show at the Funny Bone, this couple walks up and they say their 18-year-old son is interested in becoming a stand-up comic. What would you tell him? I would say, talk him out of it immediately. Get him counseling. Get him a hobby. Okay? But tell him there are so many other ways you can serve mankind.
It's like,
And
are you sure?
Well, okay.
Right.
And-
I say that I say the same thing about dance. Are you sure?
Right.
You really want to be in pain all the time?
Well, and the only reason I do that is because, first and foremost, and this may sound real blunt, but if you're asking, then you're not ready.
Oh, okay. That's a good point. Okay.
Because I never had to ask. Okay. I knew some way, somehow, I was getting on a stage somewhere and doing this. Hell or high water, in, out, up, down, didn't matter.
Didn't matter. You knew this was
the end goal, period. So once somebody to me comes up, what do you think of me being a comic? What do you think about you being a comic?
Yeah.
Okay. No, then go home and figure this out. Now, a lot of people, the only reason they get on stage, same reason I got on stage, because your brain is not going to let you have a moment of peace until you do this.
Until you do it. Right.
A dancer, I think, has the same thing. Until you dance, okay, until you do this thing, you get no peace.
Yeah.
Oh, you can trudge through life and all
can.
that, but you're not going to get any real satisfaction.
And I love that phrase, satisfaction, because it's satisfying. And I don't think, it's like, it's like, no, I'm like, no, I got this.
And again, it's not necessarily about becoming famous or becoming great. It's becoming as good as you can be and satisfying your artistic self. And that's what fuels most artists, and especially comics, because a comic is like a decathlete. You're not competing against the other comics. You're competing against your best. Your best.
Your best.
Okay? Every set is judged against your best set. Not how good so-and-so did.
In comparison, it's not a competition. This is something that was a conversation I had yesterday with a group of visual artists. Mm-hmm. It's like, we're not in competition with each other. You and your journey is like, you do a caustic. She does paintings that involve pins and thread. Mm-hmm. That's completely two different, that's apples and oranges. I mean, and so when people, I just feel like sometimes that happens in all the art forms. I can imagine in comedy. Is there a thing where people try to say, "Oh, you're like so and so, so therefore stay in this box"? Versus,
when I started booking on the road, and comedy was still an overtly racist environment. The thing that I heard the most when I would call up clubs about getting booked, "Oh, we already have a black comic." Click. That was it.
That was it. Okay.
We have our black comic. Give a damn what kind of material you do. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. It's like,
you're a black comic, so you obviously do this. Okay.
One thing.
Right.
Right.
Now, these are the clubs that have a black comic, a fat comic, one female, maybe an Asian, a Jew if they can find one. And those are the people they rotate in and out of the club, and that's it. And that's it.
Sounds like a formula.
There's just as many clubs that are exactly the opposite. The only thing they're interested in is, are you funny? Period. You're a comedian who happens to be fat or black, or whatever. But what they care about is the content. What they care about is the material. Those are the places that sustain you. Those are the places where after playing the other clubs, you go in somewhere like that where you are appreciated. The audience really gets it.
Okay.
And the energy you get from those performances gets you through.
The ones where you were the check of the list. The check.
Basically it's the modern cakewalk. And, you're doing the buck dance, and that's what you're doing. And you realize it, and you've got two choices. You can walk out, assuming you got enough gas money to get home, or you can shake this off, do what you came here to do, get your money and bounce.
Right.
Okay? Both are options you can, exercise, and
That's that freedom of the choices. The two
Right.
choices, like either do it or don't.
Or don't.
Or don't.
But getting back to your question, I mean, I would
Yeah.
tell anybody, if you want to do this, do it.
Yeah.
Just as simple. Do it. Find an open mic and go in first and watch. Watch what happens. Then go home. Hopefully this urge has dissipated now. Lesson learned. If it hasn't, write 5 minutes. Write a 5-minute set of your own jokes. Yours. Nobody else's.
That's a good
Not
question.
variations on memes. Your jokes. Write them.
Don't rehash or recycle.
Yeah. And then once you've got that written, throw it away because it's garbage. Now you're going to write a new 5 minutes, just like real comics do. Okay. You're going to write that first stuff. You're going to look at it. It's trash. Trust me. It's trash. Okay.
Okay.
It's pure garbage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't go in and tell them. Just throw them away. Now write something else. And you're going to write, I would say write at least 20 minutes. If you've got 20 minutes worth of material, that means you have 3. And then go do them. Go and stand in front of a mic and do the jokes and see what you got. If you're lucky, no one will laugh. You will go home dejected. You'll never do this again. If you're unlucky, they'll laugh. And you'll get that rush, like that first hit of crack. And you will spend the rest of your life chasing that high.
That rush.
Okay, you will
Which
spend
is
the
what
rest of
every-
your life. Once you hear that first applause,
Yeah.
that first, okay, whether you're a dancer, a singer, whatever, first time you get that, your mind is saying, okay, you know you ain't going to sleep tonight. You know that. That's not happening.
Because you're trying to do it again. You're ready for the next day.
I'm ready.
Yeah,
I'm
let's,
ready.
Let's go. Right.
And so, yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's
There is-
addicting, but it's also the energy that the applause, the adoration, whatever it is, the affirmation, that's what keeps you doing the hard work, the hours of writing and rewriting and editing and bugging other comics. Okay, how's this sound? There's a huge part of what comics do that involves writing, editing, and being brutally honest.
Okay.
I love jokes. And there's a line right now that I have to take out of my Yellow Springs joke. I have to take it out because it doesn't get the reaction I want. Now, I love the line. I think it's a great line. I think it's brilliant. It lays the biggest turd right in the middle of this wonderfully crafted joke. Joke's not 6 months old. It kills every time I tell it, except for this one part. And I'll put the line out there because I'm putting it to bed. I'm taking it out. But I do the joke. The setup is I'm woke. You know, I'm woke. And I tell people, you know, I think woke has positive connotations. But I think the word woke is a lot like hip hop. Okay? Black people invented it. White people messed it up. But that's okay. We forgive you. Do you know every time I do that joke, I mean, it gets nothing. Nothing. Nothing.
Really?
Even though
I'm like, I get it.
everything now, if there's a smattering of black people in the audience, they'll laugh.
They'll laugh.
Yeah, white people are pissed at me the minute I say
How
it.
dare you? How dare you?
Right.
How dare you tell our secrets?
And that's the thing. But up to that point in the joke, they dig the joke. They're with me on the premise, and that derails it. So it's got to go. Much as I love it, much as I think it's a great line,
Right.
it diminishes the power of the punchlines and the joke. So that's what I mean by brutally honest. Much as I love it, got to go.
Got to go. Because
Gotta go.
It's not hitting.
No,
yeah,
it's not doing what I wanted it to do. And if it's not doing that, okay, now the only reason it stays in is ego. No room for that. Okay? As I tell young comics, never forget what your job is. Okay? Your job is to sell drinks. You can be replaced by a karaoke machine or male strippers in a heartbeat. Your job is to sell drinks. Unless you're somewhere like you're doing a theater show or whatever, then your job, if you're not the person's name, if your name ain't on the ticket, your job is to set a nice table for the headliner. That's it. This is not your time to shine. This is your time to do your job. Be a professional. Okay? But in a club setting, your job is to move drinks. Okay? You're no different than a stripper. You just get to keep your clothes on. Your job is to move drinks, period.
Wow.
Don't ever get it twisted. Okay?
I love that because that's important. I mean, because I don't think people understand. This is work.
This is a business.
This is a business. Like,
okay.
No.
Now, you don't like the business side of it? Go do poetry slams. You can go to Courthouse Square and tell all the jokes you want all day long. Do-da.
Oh, you can hang out on 3rd Street.
That's what I'm saying. And do your thing. Do your thing.
Do your thing.
Okay?
But
if you're going to treat this like a business,
right,
then have a business mentality. Be a professional. Understand that part of it. And that part is honestly the most important part next to, again, the only qualification to get in our little treehouse club, you got to be funny. It sounds oversimplified, but it really is that simple.
No, you had to really, you got to, yeah. Well,
okay, to be, look,
like dance,
I'm sure.
You must have rhythm. I mean, I'm sorry.
I'm sure.
You need to have
when you
rhythm.
have an open audition, open call for dancers, there are people that come in who, and you see it in their face, they desperately want to be good dancers.
Yes.
If they had a different set of feet, maybe. But with the feet they've got connected to the brain they have, it's never gonna happen.
Wow.
Yes. And you have to be, understanding, diplomatic, and all this. But the truth is, within a few seconds, no,
this does not fit.
Okay,
you're not there. You're not
right.
there.
You're not there, and
right.
I'm not sure this is going to get you there. You notice that a lot in comedy, people want it, and they get up there and they do their thing, and you're like, there's nothing there, dog. Now, whether or not that can change, it can.
It can evolve.
It can evolve, but especially when you get up there and you see no raw talent, when you see no raw potential, when there's no there, that's when it's like, sorry, but regroup. I don't know, man. Take up needlepoint, but you're not.
Yeah, maybe it's Hallmark. Maybe you need to be writing Hallmark statements.
But it's just not.
This pathway is not yours. I mean, there are dancers who they don't have the facility. Their bodies cannot handle it, but their minds can create movement. So I would go, well, your pathway might be choreography versus being the dancer. Maybe it might be being the administrator and not the one on stage. I mean, there's just, knowing, you got to know. You got to go through it and never point blame. That's a really interesting, I was going to ask you about that. When a set bombs, do you say, oh, it's the audience not getting the joke? Or is it like, you need to work on it? I had a question, like, who do you blame? I mean, because some people blame other people, and I go, no, you need to look in the mirror and kind of work on that.
I think you have to be, anytime a show goes bad, which I just had one, you have to be, again, brutally honest. Now, there can be a litany of reasons it went bad. I always start with what was my contribution to it going bad. Now, my contribution might only have been 60%, okay? There are situations where instantly the audience hates you. They will give up no love. And it doesn't matter what you say or do. They've made their decision collectively. Wow. Okay? And that can happen to anybody.
Yeah. Well, it's true.
Sometimes it happens to every comic on the show. Sometimes it might just be you. And you have to deal with that. Okay?
That's interesting. I mean, I never really thought about.
Sometimes it's the venue. Sometimes you go into a place and everything is wrong. The acoustics are wrong. Management clearly doesn't give a crap, okay? If it's not in a club, let's say it's in a bar, they ain't even turning off the TVs or the dart machine, okay? Oh, and that's no joke.
Wow. Like they expect you to tell comedy
the best you get is they'll mute the TV, which makes it interesting if it's a really good game, because in between your jokes, you get, yay, or you suck, or stuff like that through your set. And yes, the expectation is you better go on and do what you came here to do. Okay? Oh, yeah. There were plenty of shows like that. And those shows may or may not go good. Okay? So, again, when I start dissecting a bad show, again, I start with me. Okay. What was my part in it? Okay? Was my delivery off? Was my choice of jokes incorrect? Because, again, most comics, even the crowd work comics, you still have in your head an idea of what you want to say. The jokes you're going to tell in the order you're going to tell them. Maybe you picked wrong. Maybe you decided on this set of jokes when the audience would have rather heard this one or that one. And then there's also the personal aspect of it. Did you get too drunk? Did you get too high? Did you take a nap? Should you have taken a nap? There's all these physical things that you have to take into consideration that affect your performance. So for this particular bomb, it was a real short list. I knew what I did wrong, okay? Absolutely. Got way too stoned with other comics. Way too stoned, okay? Way too stoned.
I love that. Like, okay, I'm picturing it. I'm like, okay.
No, man.
No, I can't picture it. So you're telling me I can't picture it. Okay.
Friday squared, okay? I was smoked, Friday. All right? I was smoked, all right? And I should have, and you would think after all these years I would know better, but that's what we will do to you. Oh, yeah, go up, man. You got a tight five. Go on, do it. The set was so bad, and I've literally told the story a few comics. You know it's bad when your brain is so messed up that you say, I know what'll get me out of this. I'll try a new joke I haven't even finished yet.
Oh, no.
Yes, it did.
No.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. And you know what happened? The joke died like I did, a horrible, painful death. So the set could not have gone much worse. Well, if it had, I wouldn't be sitting here. But the point is, it went badly. It went really badly. But the reasons, most of it, that's on me. That's 100% on me. I could have done a lot of different things, which I chose not to do or didn't do or whatever. But the bottom line is
you. So
yeah. Now, I've also had bad shows where it didn't have anything to do with me.
There's nothing you could have done.
And nothing I could have done differently. Those are the tough ones to deal with. Those are the hard ones to swallow, because you'll still replay them in your mind, and you're still trying to internalize and personalize what happened. But the bottom line is there's nothing you could have done differently because it was just written in the stars.
The universe had decided that is not it.
But as I've always said, what do you learn from?
That's a good question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you learn a lot from a standing ovation? No. The only thing you learn from a standing ovation is you're the shit, and you're not. You are not.
Yes.
Okay.
So in agreement on that.
So, what do you learn from a bad show? Everything.
Absolutely.
Everything. Because you'll learn from those bad shows what not to do and what to be prepared for when you see certain things. So the more mentally prepared you are, the less bad shows you'll have. And not only that, the less damage a bad show can do to you. Bad shows can be incredibly traumatic on a comic. I've literally seen them run people out. I mean, as in they quit. They do not come back.
This is, when you say that, I think about, it's opened up the thoughts about rethinking what we think comedy and a comedian is. And like when you talk, like, because that notion that it's really about being so vulnerable and open. It's still different when you're dancing, because it's like, you know what? There's a distance. This seems like this immediacy of
there has to be
a different kind of energy. It's not the same kind of energy. I find it fascinating when comedians are fascinating to me, because that is some daredevil risk taking.
Oh, it's
Marvel comic universe.
Well, okay, I'll give you what I always tell. I tell comics, they'll show up Sunday night at Wiley's and do their first open mic. And they'll bring their family, all their friends, and they just have a rip-roaring good time. They have a great 5 minutes because they brought, 35 out of the 45 people in the audience, and it's lots of applause and all this. And they come out walking on cloud nine, blah this, blah that. Man, that was easy. And this is what I tell them. Okay, you're going to keep doing it? Oh, hell yeah. Okay, the next gig, you're going to come to one of the regular open mics, not this fancy one at a club. Okay? You're going to bring no one, just you. And let's see how you do. See, it's very different when you don't have a cheering section, because then you get an accurate evaluation of your jokes and you. And that can be when you find out, okay, number one, can I do this? And number two, do I want to do this?
And is there a third where maybe I need to work on this?
Oh, that's always. That's always.
So that's the given. They'll given. But it's the truth. It is laying bare. Like, this is, and I just find that fascinating, because it's just like, I don't feel, I've performed. I've done it. I've done that thing. It was all dependent upon someone offering the role.
Yeah.
And then it was like what I did with the role. And I had to explain that to like younger dancers. I'm like, I'm in the studio when y'all leave, because I'm working on it. I'm going to nail this. I'm going to do whatever I have in my power to make this work. You're not there when I'm an hour before warm up.
Right.
Before the show.
Yeah.
It's like, you didn't do the work. You gotta want it. You gotta do the work.
There are tons of comics who will glide on their natural talent. They will coast.
Okay.
Because of, again, their natural gifts. It will only get them so far. It is. I'm sure it's the same in dance, visual art. Oh. If you've got natural gifts, if you happen to be a genius with watercolor, to the point where you think no one can show you anything, you've already capped your growth.
We call it you peaked.
Okay?
Yeah, that's our phrase. You peaked.
You've peaked. Okay? If you're not willing to put in the work, if you honestly think you are as good as it gets, I can already tell you you're not. Because you're not willing to do what everybody does. And that's, you have to put the work in. You want bigger muscles? Go to the gym.
It is that simple of a through line. And that's what everybody I've had on the podcast has said. The work.
Work.
I'd have I can't keep emphasizing it to the world in the cheap
for
seats.
instance, in dance, I'm sure there are maybe solos or duos that are 5-6 minutes long.
Yep.
Entire performance, 5-6 minutes long. Months of rehearsals. Day in, day out. Feet hurt, back hurt, knees hurt. Don't care. Let's do it again.
Do it again.
A 5-minute set for a comic can take years.
I just find that
blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
Literal tears.
Yeah.
Okay. Into these, and then it all comes together. And then you get up on stage and you absolutely destroy an audience in 5 minutes. In fact, you say thank you at 4 minutes, 55 seconds. There's nothing that compares. Now, the audience thinks, wow, how did he or she do that? The comics know how you did it because they've watched you take a premise about doorknobs and shave it down to a 30-second joke that is absolutely brilliant. Audience doesn't know that. Audience doesn't need to know that.
No, they don't need to know that you, because you're never going to stop on a stage and say, let me break this down to you. It took you 3 weeks to figure out how to do this, this combination.
Actually, now at open mics, I have done that. I have pulled the curtain back on jokes.
Okay.
And told them, folks, thank you. This is the first time I've ever done this joke. You gave birth to it. Thank you. Or tell them, I just changed that up. Thank you. Because it's open mic. I'll let them in. But now if it's a regular show, oh, hell no. I ain't telling them nothing. You don't need to know.
You don't need to know how hard I work.
You don't need to know. You're here for the magic. So I'm delivering the magic. And that's what I want you to believe. I want you to believe that
it just happened.
Just happens.
Hi, I'm Mike Shea, Communications Specialist for Think TV and the producer of this podcast. Thank you for listening to Rodney Veals Inspired By. This podcast is a production of CET and Think TV, two local PBS stations. As PBS stations, the work we do online, on air, and in the community is supported by listeners like you. If you're enjoying the show and would like to support our work, please consider becoming a member at cetconnect.org or thinktv.org. Plus, when you sign up to donate at least $5 a month, you'll get access to special members-only streaming videos on the PBS app through Passport. Learn more at cetconnect.org or thinktv.org. Thanks for listening, and back to the show.
So I have a question because about the evolution of comedy, because you've been at this.
Yeah.
Like, what has changed as far as the delivery of comedy?
Not
from
much.
when you started to now. I mean, is something?
There are a lot more avenues.
Is that what the change is? Okay.
There are a lot less gatekeepers. Thank you. There are a lot more opportunities for all comics, not just a certain type of comic. That has been unbelievably refreshing. It has helped comedy because you're getting a lot more female voices. You're getting a lot more people of color. You're getting a lot of representation from the LGBTQ community, a ton more than you ever would have back in the day, period. Okay? Now comics can actually be courageous and be who they are, rather than have to fit in the box, have to fit in the framework to get the work. Then if you got to a certain level, then you could be who you are. Now you can come in being who you are, owning your truth. And that's good enough. If you're funny, there are clubs that will work you now where they couldn't have before. They simply couldn't have.
That is the change. That is the ultimate
That's a
change.
huge change.
That is huge.
The internet flattened the mountain. Okay, what I mean by that is when I started, you had to climb the comedy mountain. That meant you started wherever you were.
Like Dayton, Ohio.
Dayton, Ohio. Okay. Yeah. Then the next step, you had to go on the road, around the country, playing everywhere. Okay. That got you halfway up the mountain. Then you had to make a decision. Chicago, New York, LA, San Francisco. You're moving to one of these places. That's the next step. Then from there, you make the big move to Los Angeles. Okay. But you've had to climb this mountain and you've met all these other climbers on the way. So that by the time you get to LA, most of the gatekeepers already know you. Doesn't mean they're going to open the gate, but at least they know
they're
you.
Aware of you.
They're aware of you. Okay. So all of those things were, and this was rigid. Didn't matter whether you're a black comic, white comic, female comic. This was the mountain you had to climb.
This is the only way.
Okay, now, was it harder for a black comic or a female comic? Hell yeah, they throwing rocks from the top of the mountain to you. But that was the mountain. The internet flattened that. Completely flattened it. So you could be a comic in Dayton, Columbus, Dubuque, Iowa.
Right.
You could set up a podcast, a YouTube channel, or whatever, and the audience that couldn't find you before now has found you. Dane Cook is an example of somebody who early embraced the internet for marketing. And he literally grew his career into superstardom. Kevin Hart, too. Both of these guys, long before it was popular, these were two guys I knew for a fact. All the other comics after a show, they went out to party. They went out to do this or that. These guys went back to their rooms with a stack of 3x5 cards they got from the audience and input all the data. So that the next time they came to Salt Lake City, they sent out an email a month in advance. Hey, I'm coming to Salt Lake City. Hope to see you at the show. Bing.
Interesting.
So suddenly now comics had power they never had before. Not at their disposal, without huge amounts of expense. Those are probably the biggest changes. Again, I think it's refreshing that there's more content, a more wide variety of content, that audiences can find what makes them laugh, rather than having Hollywood or networks telling them.
Which is literally a gatekeeper. Yeah, which is
telling
really
you what you will laugh at. If you think about, back in the last century or even before, when cable was out, there were limited windows where you could see comedy.
Right.
And so you only saw the comics that got through the gate. Now you can see all the comics. All. So now suddenly, which I can always tell when Hollywood gets pissed off about something. And they're real pissed off about the fact they don't get to anoint comics anymore. That the public anoints comics now. They hate that.
Well, the audience is just dictating content.
Yeah.
Which I don't think Hollywood's figured that out yet.
Oh, no. They hate it.
It goes beyond comedy. Because like Netflix, I'm going, I don't need to see the same. I don't need to see a police procedural. They're all the same.
They're all the same.
But the police procedural for Norway is a little different. And I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Because it made enough of it being a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Who knew? Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Like I was thinking about this yesterday. Who would have thought that a show about a black French thief Lupin,
yes,
would be the most thrilling. I was like, I can't wait to dive into season 3. Because I'm like, oh my goodness,
yeah.
Because I realized that the gatekeepers and networks never understood. Good is good.
Good is good.
He's charismatic. I mean, I'm thinking he's no less charismatic than Brad Pitt, George Clooney combined. What's your problem? He just speaks French.
And that's the beauty of this new world.
Yeah.
Is the gatekeepers can no longer decide on taste.
Ooh.
Now, taste is dictated by the masses, by what people like. Okay? Look, this guy's name's Russell Peters. Russell Peters is one of the biggest comics in the world. He is still relatively unknown in the United States, only because he's huge in the rest of the world. And if there's one thing Hollywood hates, it's anybody who's so big, they don't need you.
They don't need your process.
Okay, they don't need it. Literally.
Jumping through the hoops.
Okay.
Which is really interesting. Yeah.
Russell Peters can write a check and make the bank bounce. So he doesn't need Hollywood. So Hollywood hates that. They can't stand it because forever they controlled comedy and they controlled the comics that got through. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, now suddenly it's not, whether you got invited to the couch on Johnny Carson or any of that. Now it's totally how many butts can you put in seats?
How many clicks can you get somebody to watch
on
YouTube? I mean,
okay.
This is that difference of where technology and that flattening, which it's Thomas Friedman. I mean, you're just basically describing Thomas Friedman telling us the world is flat.
The world is flat.
It's like, come on, folks, just let's not get it twisted about how it can expand. That you can be in Dayton, Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
And people are listening, watching
all over the world.
All over the world.
All over the world.
Let that be very clear. Like, it can happen.
Yeah. And now there are no barriers. That's the one thing I would tell any comic. Okay, when I started, there were tons of barriers you had to, flaming hoops you had to jump through and all this. They're gone. Truthfully, you could have agoraphobia and never leave your house and blow up. There's no reason you can't. The only thing stopping you is you. How much do you want this? Again, it sounds overly simple, but it is that simple. How much do you want this?
How bad? How much? That is the ultimate phrase. How bad do you want it? How much do you want it?
Yeah, how much do you want it?
Yeah.
Okay. This was the only thing I ever wanted to do. Were there other things in my life I knew I could do? Sure. But this is the only thing I wanted to do. Okay. So this was the thing that fueled me, consumed me. I got in trouble at my college, Christian college, because one of the performances I did there, I did impressions of the local ministers, which were spot on, by the way.
I am loving.
Spot on.
Wow.
But,
they were like, oh.
Well, no, that one wasn't the one that got me in trouble. The one that really got me in trouble was, and this is when I decided I couldn't be a Christian comic, because they asked me. Now, the institution I went to asked me if I would do a comedy, because I've never been secretive about I want to be a comic. So any chance I got to perform, I did it. So they came, asked me, would I do a short comedy skit for this convention of student officers from all the Christian colleges from all over the country? I said, sure, I'd love to. Blessing from God. Okay. Now, this being the church, every joke I told had to be run through the board, which it was in advance. They greenlit everything. Cool. I do my thing. I get some laughs. I think this is great. You know, maybe I'll do the Christian comic thing, right? 3 weeks later, the president of the institution's secretary sends for me. And she hands me a letter and says, I knew nothing about this. I opened the letter, and it's a letter, official college letterhead. It went out to every single college, every single officer, every single president, apologizing for my ethnocentric remarks. Now, I'm pretty smart, but I had no idea what ethnocentric meant, so I had to go look that up. And then when I looked it up, I also didn't understand, you know, all publicity is good publicity. This gut punched me, okay? Because this letter also went home.
Oh.
So I get a call a couple days later, and my parents were used to this by now, and I was used to it too. What did you do this time? And I didn't do it. You know, I literally had to explain all this, and they were just sure I did something. I, dropped an F-bomb. To this day, I don't know what I did or who I pissed off, but that was like, nope, I'm never going through that again, ever.
Wow.
And that was when I said, no, it's a club for me. No, I will never have the Saints do me like that again, ever. But yeah, that's one of my comedy stories before I was a comic, where it really was almost as if I had a sign from heaven. Yeah, you're supposed to be doing this.
You're supposed to be doing this.
You're absolutely supposed to be doing this.
The fact that you got a president to write a letter.
Hey, I still look for that. I look in, I want to find a copy of it because I just want to post it on the internet or whatever.
It's like this, because they could get real serious.
Well, and again, it tripped me out because it was the first time that I learned the hard way art can provoke. And one of the functions of art, especially one of the functions of comedy art, is to provoke. That's what I think is in danger right now in comedy.
Okay, I was going to ask you about that.
Is a lot of people don't like the fact that the art form is supposed to provoke.
Yeah.
That's part of our job. We're supposed to be truth tellers. And sometimes the truth is very hard to hear. Very hard.
Very difficult.
Okay. Sometimes we have to drag society forward. Right. And society doesn't want to come forward. Sometimes society wants to stay where it is.
Right.
We have to pull it forward. Okay. That's always been the rule and the objective of the artist. And it's not just us. It happens in dance. It's happened in visual. Okay. Film, in poetry, film. Sometimes we, the artists, must be the vehicle to move society forward. And sometimes the easiest way for society to deal with pain is through laughter.
Yep.
Okay. And the very idea that you're going to try and attack, and I've always said comedy is always attacked from both the left and the right. The left wants to attack on ethical grounds. The right wants to attack on moral grounds. But they both want the same thing, control. They want to decide who you get to make jokes about and the framework of those jokes and how those jokes can be told. And then, of course, we'll have to put them through a truthometer because, all jokes have to be true.
Which is that interesting comment of like that controversy, which was so relatively short-lived, about
there's
Hassan Minhaj.
In the new issue of the Atlantic Monthly, they're talking about, they have a specific article about comics only care about comedy. Kind of a sideways diss. Basically, we don't care about truth.
It's almost like ignoring the history of comedy.
Well,
Jonathan Winters told the truth. The Smothers Brothers told the truth.
I hate to be the one to tell them Shakespeare really didn't see fairies. Okay?
Yeah.
He made that up.
He made it up. But he also made pointed commentaries about politics, power,
Yeah.
the foolishness, the ego, the arrogance, the hubris.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, come on, folks. Like,
Look, it all comes back to this idea that if you can find a reason to silence what you don't like or understand, you're going to run with it. That to me is the downside of the internet. Is it has empowered a lot of people who can't do what we do, to criticize, to attack, to malign, to diminish, to minimize, because they either, again, don't understand it and can't control it.
And seeing it through a lens, that sense of control, that lens, I'm always confused by, like, my phrase has always been, don't read the comments.
Yeah.
Like, when you're online, just don't even read the comments, because it's like, you'll be pissed off.
Well,
and it could be just anything. It could be like literally just watching an innocuous clip, and you see these comments, you're like, so all the PhDs in
but some
in
people
comedy and
that's
like dissecting. I'm like, are you kidding me?
That's that to me is the downside of the internet is now everyone is an educated critic. Everyone's opinion carries the same weight, which it does not.
It does not. Yeah. I'm a firm believer of that too.
And, it can, that's the only downside I think of modern comedy is comics. You got to get a thick skin real fast because if you're going to put your stuff online, it is going to generate some really nasty responses from people who have no interest in whether or not you're funny. Okay.
They just are attacking to attack.
Yeah, they're just attacking to attack.
Yeah.
Okay, because not everybody goes to a NASCAR race to see a race. Some people want to see a crash.
Yeah.
And those people are out there and they sit in a basement and wait for you to post something on TikTok or Facebook or wherever so they can pounce. So you, the comic, you got to develop a thick skin to where you don't really care. You have to be in love with your art. You've got to be confident in your voice and what you're doing. And the only way you get there is by work. That is the only way. Okay. There is no shortcut.
There is none to making this world.
You have to put the work in. That's where the confidence comes from, especially as a comic, because you're consistently trying these jokes out on an audience. You know if it works. You know if a joke works, because by the time you've fashioned it and got it ready, you've told it 30, 40 times.
Yeah.
So then I tell it another 100 times. So now if I tell it and an audience doesn't buy it, okay, I'm upset they don't buy it, but I'm shaking that off because I already know this joke is money.
You've already vetted it.
Right. It's already vetted. I know this joke is money. Y'all may not like it because y'all are pissed off about, Friday payday, whatever.
Car loan.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And that's cool. So, but you only get there by work. You only get there by work. That much has not changed about comedy. It will not change. Yeah, the internet's made it easier and all this, but
the fundamentals.
Yeah, the fundamentals must still be adhered to. You still have to put in the work, whether you write with your phone, a pen and a pad of paper, you want to go all John Nash and keep it all in your head, beautiful mind, whatever. But you're still going to put in the work. You have to, because that's the way you get good. And that's also the way you get the artistic piece to deal with the rejection. And I think dancers have this in common with comics. I think musicians do too. You get
live performers. It's all
live performance. You hear no 100 times more than you hear yes.
This is so real.
Okay,
so real.
And if you get your feelings hurt by no, quit now.
You should definitely quit.
Quit now. Pull the plug. Stop.
Because you're going to hear no.
Oh, you're not just going to hear no. You're going to hear hell no. You're going to hear we just don't think. Or my favorite,
we decided to go in a different direction.
We're going in a different direction. My personal favorite is you ain't hardly even started, and they go, thank you. Thank you. You literally 2 feet on the stage. Thank you.
They are done with you.
Done.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
done.
real. That's real. That is very real.
Done.
Right.
But thank you. I said thank, and I said you.
You.
That's you. Go.
Go.
Yeah.
Just know.
So, yeah, if you're not ready for that, if you're not mentally prepared for it, or if that's not something you really want to get down with, don't get into the performing arts, because that's what you're going to hear.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy hears no. Okay?
Yeah.
Idris Elba, no.
No. Yeah.
The Rock, no.
No.
This is what you hear. I don't care how big you get.
Yeah.
You're going to hear no more than you hear yes. If that is a problem, if that is a stumbling block, get out now. Get out while your feelings are intact.
Yeah. I think people see the YouTube clips, they see the comic on TV or in some sort of media presence, and they think, oh, that's the goal. That, I can do that. It's like, no. The vehicle.
Yeah.
Everybody has access to the vehicle.
Mm-hmm. And I'd be the first one to tell young comics, okay, yeah, if Netflix or something like that is your objective, are you sure you're really ready to invest what it will take? Now, I know dancers have this in common, or I'm fairly certain most artists have this in common. You're going to sacrifice relationships.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to sacrifice at least one or two good jobs that had a long-term future. And you're going to have to make a decision between your art and this job.
Yep.
This is going to happen. These things are going to happen to you, the artist. If that's not something you're ready for, if you're not ready for a girlfriend, boyfriend, spouse to literally say to you, you got to choose. It's me
or this.
Or this.
That is real.
Okay.
Folks, that's 100% real.
It's 100% real. And if you're not ready for it, if you think, well, it won't happen to me, Leroy loves me, Barbara loves me, let me tell you.
Nope. I know.
Do not be confused about what you're going to have to put in to this life. Yeah. Okay. And if you think, fame, I want to be famous. No, you don't.
No, you don't. No.
You really don't.
No, you don't.
The best part about, I think, being in comedy as long as I have is I've gotten to meet quite a few famous people. Fame is the counterfeit for importance. You can be famous and not be important, and you can be important and never be famous. Okay? Never. It has no impact on your importance. Most people outside of the acting community don't know who Stella Adler is.
Right.
Okay. But inside the acting community, they know who she is. Yeah. Okay. Outside of dance, most people don't know Geraldine Blunden. They don't recognize that name from anything. Inside
of it.
Let me tell you something. You can say DC anywhere in the world, and they know what you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
So again, I've never thought that fame is all that great, especially after seeing it from this side.
That's interesting. Like that perspective.
Mm-mm.
It's no. It is no joke.
A complete loss of privacy. Everybody's looking to one-up you or betray you because they can sell some kind of BS to TMZ.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't know who to trust. You don't know who's on your side, who's not on your side.
You don't know that even a meeting that you think went well,
right,
didn't go well because.
And to me, the worst part is you can't even go to Waffle House.
That's true.
Okay, you can't go to Waffle House. You can't go to Old Country Buffet. Yeah. You can't take your kids to the trampoline place without people tripping.
Yeah.
Okay, literally without people tripping.
Yeah.
So no, fame should be the last thing you want. Okay, if you the comic see fame up close, or you the artist see fame up close, you won't want it.
And you have to have your eyes open when it's up close.
Yeah,
like if you're on this side of the fence, you have got to understand
and
that somebody might roll down their window and shout at you, "Hey, aren't you the art show guy?"
Mm-hmm.
And you're just walking, and you're just going, "What just happened? What?" That was enough of a taste for me to shut her down. I was like, shut it down now. It was like, much more protective of private time.
Because once you lose it, you don't get it back.
You don't get it back.
There
are expectations. Yeah. Their expectations.
And again, and that's the problem. The expectation is the public thinks they own you. So you don't get to have a quiet meal. I don't care where you are. Somebody's going to come up for a selfie or an autograph or this or that. And if you dare say no, now you're the jerk.
You're the jerk.
That's the part I think that a lot of people don't understand about when you transcend as an artist. That's the price you pay.
Yeah.
And that's a hell of a price to pay.
And you better know why you're there.
Yeah, and that's what I mean.
To your point, like you better know why you're up on the stage telling comedy.
Yeah, what is your objective? What is your goal?
Every person we've interviewed so far have all said the same thing. It's like, Joey Munda, he's a youngest Broadway Tony Award winning producer. Went to Wright State. He went to Wright State for musical theater, but what he realized was, I'm never going to be on that stage.
Right.
But I know what works on that stage. And that was the skill he developed.
Some of the best comedy bookers are former comics because they understand comedy.
Yeah.
They understand what to listen for. They understand what to look for. Yeah. And some of the best modern playwrights have been stand-up comics who realized that their real talent, Judd Apatow, was writing great scripts. Not necessarily performing.
Yeah.
So, it's like so many things. You may start here and think, okay, I'm supposed to be going here. But then life takes a turn.
It takes a turn, yeah.
And it points you in a new direction that you should have been going in the whole time.
Yeah.
Now, me, I'm lucky, I guess. I'll be doing this until either I get the ultimate, which is like, I think his name was Dick Shawn and maybe 3 others, comics who have died on stage during their act.
Wow.
Dick Shawn was on, I think it was a college campus. He was doing his act. He died. They thought it was part of the act. Yeah. That's how I want to go. That's really how I want to go. Not really, but.
Not really.
No.
Hopefully. But if
I had to go.
This is not like you're all over a sudden you're like, I've decided to become a car salesman. No.
Well, it's funny, Nancy, when you bring that up. There's a joke that I would love to retire out of my act, but I can't. I still may. But I do this joke, and I do it because I tell everybody basically the premise is, you know what? I appreciate you guys coming out, but this is my last show. I'm retiring from comedy. I'm going to become a professional Bigfoot hunter. Premise of the joke. To this very day, when I do that joke, I will come off stage. Both comics and audience members will walk up and go, "You're not really retiring, are you?" "No, I'm not really retiring. It's a damn joke."
Well, first of all, to be a Bigfoot hunter,
oh yeah,
that part should have told you it was a joke.
You would think. Oh no,
one would think.
No, they really buy that I'm retiring, and I've been telling. It's the only joke in my act currently that is more than 10 years old. I will not tell any of my old stuff, which is weird because, and it's funny, real quick, I know we're running out of time. This is the payoff for a comic. To me, the biggest payoff. There's 2 big payoffs in comedy if you're a stand-up. Okay. I'll tell them both. One, I was sitting in Wiley's a couple weeks ago, and somebody walked up and said, "Hey, I'm a friend of," it was another comic that I'm good friends with. Said, "I'm a friend of so-and-so." He said I could come over and talk to her. I said, "Yeah, sure." So I just want you to know that one of your jokes still makes me laugh. And the joke she told is a joke I haven't told for 25 years. It was one of my first closers. It's a great joke. I love it. But she says it still makes her laugh when she's stuck in traffic. It's a joke about being stuck in traffic. And it still makes her laugh to this very day. And I'm like, I have not told that joke in 20. You still remember it? She said, "Oh, yeah. Every time I'm stuck in traffic, it makes me laugh." I'm like, I can leave now. I've done my job. I've given someone something that is a gift that keeps giving. They can keep having this wonderful experience forever.
Yeah.
And I don't even tell the joke anymore. But the best comedy experience to me as a stand-up, and most stand-ups will tell this story. They have a variation of it. It came off a show, I think it was in Findlay or Toledo, somewhere up north. And this woman walks up, says, I just want to tell you, thank you for a great, and I'm like, yeah, okay, you're welcome. Well, you need to understand, I was at a funeral today, and I was not coming to this show, and they drugged me to this show. You have changed literally my entire day. And you really don't know how to respond to that. You just kind of like, thank you. But they're dead serious. I mean, you really have changed the trajectory of where they were. And every comic that I know has a very, I just got to sign my divorce papers today. My kids just moved out today, that kind of thing. And coming to this show let me know it's going to be okay. It's the ultimate thank you. And that's why I love this art. That's why I love this art form, is because every now and then you can be a part of an experience that someone will have, which they'll continue to have for the rest of their lives. Like seeing a great piece of art, like hearing a piece of music that connects with you.
It just sends you, transcends.
Yeah, it transcends.
Okay. The everyday.
Yeah. It literally transcends. It becomes a part of your coping mechanism of how you deal with life. You get that? You got it all.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful. I'm overwhelmingly thankful that I've ever had that experience. I'll never be famous. Don't want to be. I'll never be rich. Would like to be, but okay. But what I am is funny. And I'm cool with that because that puts me in the 1% of the 1%.
There you go.
And that's kind of sort of all I did want Halle Berry. But other than that, being funny we'll have to do. Because I don't think my Akron homegirl's returning my calls.
There you go. I love it. All right. This is awesome. Thank you, Jesse. This is how you do it, folks. This is
my pleasure.
An absolute pleasure. See, so you need to go see comedy live. You need to go see Jesse doing comedy.
In October 21st. Okay, if it comes on before that, I'll be at a ranch or somewhere out in New Carlisle. Again, I'm performing outside. What the hell? These outdoor gigs. I love it. But yeah, thank you. Loved it. Had a great time. Love to do it again. Go comedy.
Rodney Veals Inspired By is a production of Public Media Connect, the regional partnership of CET in Cincinnati and Think TV in Dayton. There's a lot of great art happening around Southwest Ohio, and we're excited to be part of it. If you like this episode, please subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can learn more and find the show notes at thinktv.org/inspired by or cetconnect.org/inspired by. Thank you.